This episode is brought to you by LifeLock. When you visit the doctor, you probably hand over your insurance, your ID, and contact details. It's just one of the many places that has your personal info. And if any of them accidentally expose it, you could be at risk for identity theft. LifeLock monitors millions of data points a second. If you become a victim, they'll fix it, guaranteed, or your money back. Save up to 40% your first year at LifeLock.com/podcast. Terms apply.
Empower.
Jen has ordered a decadent seafood tower, king crab legs, lobster tails, and a waterfall of caviar. Pricey? You bet. But Jen worked with Empower on her savings and investment strategy and planned for splurges like these. She got good at money, so she can be a little bad. Ooh, champagne. Empower. Invest well, live a little. Start today at empower.com.
Past performance is not indicative of future returns. Investing involves risk. You may lose money. Advisory services are provided for a fee by Empower Advisory Group, LLC, EAG, a registered investment advisor with the Securities and Exchange Commission. OMG, those shrimps are really jumbo.
Depending on where you are in the country, you probably have a couple games in the books right now, and the opening jitters are gone, tendencies are starting to take shape, and the grind of the season has begun. Each week I put together a Sunday newsletter, and I'll be sharing some of those ideas here on the podcast as well, and I'll continue to give you some insight from coaches across the game, ideas to help you fine-tune your process and gain an edge as you prepare for the next opponent. And in each of these episodes, as we go through the season, I'll be sharing a tip on offense, defense, and special teams. So here's our first tip. It's from Joe Loth, who is now the head coach at Southern Connecticut State. He was at Western Connecticut when he delivered this presentation at the D3 Top 25 Clinic a couple of off seasons ago. He's going to talk about the game planning process.
So play selection. How do we select those 100 plays? So we need to, use calls versus anticipated fronts, coverages, and down and distance and field zones. Meaning, as we look at defenses, we got to make sure that we understand what they're calling in their specific areas too. And then as we create 100 calls for the season, now we're playing week one. Well, how many new plays are we bringing in? We want to bring in 10 or less new plays every year. Okay, and we'll actually track those new plays. So if you went, we looked at our website, we looked at install. We have our season install here, and we'll post this if we create a new play for our guys. So against John Hopkins, we played the playoffs. We created 9 new plays that week against them. And whenever we create a new call at Fitchburg, we only created 3. Against Worcester, we created 11. Okay, so we're trying to keep that number somewhat low week to week as far as what we're creating, and hopefully we've done a good job in camp. So how do you narrow down calls? I mean, there's a ton of ideas on Mondays. Okay, some weeks way too many ideas because you think you can do all these things against them. Some weeks, man, we're like, how are we going to move the ball against these guys? But really, the way you narrow down your calls is you create a template of how many calls you're going to make. And then we always want to try to avoid post-game regret, meaning the game ends and all of a sudden they didn't do what we thought they were going to do, and we didn't have a plan to attack what they did. Regret, one of our guys get banged up and we're stuck into a game plan and we can't adjust. And then during games, the thing that we're always conscious of, nothing better than scripting a game, staying on schedule, scoring a bunch of points, being very efficient. Then you have the other games where you're like, man, we're doing too much. Like, we need to simplify. Or you have the other games where you feel like you're super stale, like, hey, seems like we're calling the same plays. And how do you get out of the staleness? And really, so we always want to be able to make sure we're carrying a list of beaters from film breakdown and be able to run plays that maybe we haven't practiced that week, but we installed during camp.
Next up, we have the defensive side of the ball. In this clip, Wes Goodwin, the outside linebackers coach now at Oklahoma, talks about their game week process.
Today, I want to talk to you guys a little bit about the game planning process and, how to structure a game week. I think it's very important that you're efficient, you utilize all your resources, and delegate as much as possible. I've had the opportunity to learn and study from some of the best defensive minds in the country. We've had top 10, top 5 defenses, obviously, at Clemson all those years. I've seen it at the highest level. So I think it's important that you have a process in mind and in place to be efficient and to utilize your staff. Some of the things on the left, it doesn't show up too great on this screen, but on Sundays, the day after the game, for us, we come in as a staff, we'll grade the previous game on our own, and then meet defensively at 1:30. 4 o'clock, we'll meet with Coach Sweeney to review the game, and then 5 o'clock until we're finished that night, we'll go through this sheet right here and basically study the scouting report, and each one of us will be assigned those different things. On the far right, you can kind of see how we delegate those responsibilities. Myself, on Sundays, I'll come in. My biggest feel is getting a feel for the opponent's play caller. What's he like to do in certain situations? After a turnover, midfield, does he take a shot? That sort of deal. Plus territory, third down. Is he thinking run game here? In field goal range, that sort of deal. So I'm just getting a DNA of what his tendencies are as a play caller. And then also I'll start formation tendencies as well, and start early downs. So the first thing, obviously, first and second down, base downs. Separate all your special situations out of that. Take out 2-minute, red zone, that sort of deal. What are they doing in between the 20s? Basically, first and second down. That's the first thing. And then from there, what are they doing formation-wise? How are they utilizing personnel? What's their favorite runs out of each personnel grouping? Any motion tendencies? Jet motion is at 100% run. If they motion a receiver across the formation, what's the tendency and that sort of deal. So I want to separate all the situations out and study what they're doing on first and second down.
Finally, on the special teams side of the ball, we have Jeff Simmons, who's the special teams coordinator at Carnegie Mellon. Carnegie Mellon has done an outstanding job on special teams, and they're often at the top of the NCAA in block punts and block kicks. This is a section on film prep from his presentation at the D3 Top 25 Clinic a couple off seasons ago.
Film prep. I think film prep and scouting is the most important part of being able to be successful blocking kicks. The first thing I do is I always like to check on the operation time. How I do this is simply using the little counter at the bottom of the screen in Huddle. I'll pause the ball right before it's about to be snapped, and I'll mark down that time. And then I'll see when the ball hits the punter's foot, and I'll mark that time down, and I'll do a little subtraction and figure out what the operation time is. Anything, right around that 2.1 and above or slower, are kicks that I know we can go and get. Next most important thing, I believe, is the launch point. All right. Some teams line up at 14. Some teams line up at 12. That's all fine and good, but it's all about where that kicker is launching that ball. All right. If he's a 2-step, a 3-step punter, I like to mark down what yard line from center that launch point is going to be. Most of the time for us, we're seeing right around 9 to 11 being that point that we got to get to be that block point. Next would be the long snapper. Nothing against long snappers in the world, but man, I think that's a tough position to recruit in Division III. Sometimes they're not a full-time long snapper. Most of the time they play another position. So we want to take advantage of the weaker long snappers. A lot of times long snappers will also have tells. We had one last year that would look straight ahead, and right before he was ready to snap, he'd look between his legs and snap it immediately. So our kids knew as soon as that long snapper ducked his head and was looking through his legs, that snap was going to come here soon. The fourth thing we really do look at is their blocking schemes. We got really smart kids here at Carnegie Mellon, and once they kind of see that blocking scheme a couple times during the week, they're able to also find weaknesses in that scheme. So just by their basic alignment, sometimes it'll make it hard on their blockers to get to them, and they'll be able to shoot gaps and make plays that way. Lastly would be weak links. If there's a guy out there that maybe is new to the system, we saw one guy there and now he's not there anymore, we'll try to go after that weak link in the system, that weak link in their protection scheme. All right, so operation time is key. Launch point is key. Scouting that long snapper, very important. Your team knowing the blocking scheme, important. And then obviously we can find that weak link. We're going to take advantage of it.
The season moves fast. The coaches who consistently gain an edge are the ones who keep sharpening their process week after week. Use the insights in these podcasts to tighten your prep, adjust quicker, and keep your team one step ahead. Be sure to check out our partner, Modern Football Technology, the only real-time platform that turns live data into instant adjustments. From the sideline to the press box, know exactly what's happening and what to call next. Even though we're in season, it's not too late to get started. With Modern Football's easy-to-use interface and fast onboarding, your staff could be up and running by this Friday night, making in-game adjustments simpler, faster, and smarter. Book your demo today at modernfootball.com or click the link in the show notes.